So in the law, there's this trope about the little old judge. And some people say, like, well, the role of the judge should basically be like a sports umpire, right? They just call balls and strikes, and they don't make it up as they go. They're not political figures themselves. What we've seen happen in the last few years in tech is that there's sort of this idea of the little old engineer who's just doing their job. And I think students are starting to see that there is no little old engineer. Everybody's work is political. So I teach this course on surveillance and privacy. The goal is to get students to see that, the technologies are new, but the questions aren't new. There is this perception that technology is objective and that it's neutral and that it's fair. It has become increasingly important as more agencies and companies and branches of government start to use algorithmic systems and kind of data-intensive systems for folks to really understand what it is that technology is going to get them and what problems are still going to remain.
The conversation around algorithms, it creates the illusion that it's only about technology, but it's much broader. When humans sit down to choose among applicants, whether they're hiring them for jobs or giving them scholarships or admitting them to college, if you're very disciplined, you'll write down what your criteria are, what you're looking for, what did you see in this application. But even when you're very careful, you're doing that at best at a fairly qualitative level. Putting this into an algorithm means we have to make very, very precise what are we actually measuring about this person. And we're discovering that when we do that, sometimes we're not actually happy with the objectives that we write down. And sometimes we only discover that. We write down an objective that we think was the right choice. We then run the algorithm, we say, we're not happy with the outcome. It's because we're now learning that the objective that we wrote down isn't so good.
AI is not this abstruse technical nerd sitting in a basement writing code, never interacting with the real world. It is a deeply human enterprise. The issues I study, things like health inequality, are deeply entwined with questions which are not purely technical. So, if you want to study health inequality properly, you need to be talking to doctors, you need to be talking to health economists. And if you try and analyze the data in a vacuum, I think it will often be worse than useless.
Cornell CIS brings together computer science, information science, and statistics. And these really are three disciplines that all have important things to say about the way in which algorithms are automating large parts of our everyday lives. At Cornell, we've invested a lot of effort over really the past 2.5 decades into trying to build up that kind of collaboration, that kind of conversation.
And what that requires is really engaging with the folks who are on the front lines, right? With the practitioners who are building the systems, with the people who are going to have to live and work around it, with the people who are impacted by those decisions.
I came to AI in part a math nerd, but also just as someone who wanted to have an impact on the world for good. And I think if you communicate that AI really does have an impact on the world, that broadens the universe of people who will be interested in pursuing it.